Let's talk about how to get a $50,000 Navy Fed personal loan if you are unemployed. So we have a situation where you are jobless, but you want to apply for a Navy Fed personal loan and you want to get as high of a limit as possible. Stick around till the end of today's conversation. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweaty Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous. If you were to ask me, if you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to explain to you how to get a Navy Fed personal loan if you are unemployed and you want to get as high of a loan amount as possible. So here are the steps. The first thing I want to talk to you about is something called DTI and Cur. Okay. So if you're in a situation where you are unemployed, it doesn't mean that your metrics, your fundamental metrics must be wrong or lethargic. What I'm trying to say here is that don't you believe that because you're unemployed, you necessarily have to have a high CUR or DTI. This is really wrong. So we got to be in a situation where we want to constantly make sure that we are on top of our metrics. And DTI, the important thing about DTI is that it works in an inverse relationship. So the lower your income and the higher your debts, you're going to have a high DTI. And we want to be in a situation where we keep our DTI and CUR around 30% or less. Okay. So this is where the sweet spot is at. Okay. And if you are unemployed, you want to actually put extra pressure on yourself to lower your DTI and CUR ratios even down. So you want to be around 20%. The key thing here is that when you have a high DTI or CUR, Navy Fed is thinking of you as a risky applicant. Why? Because it shows that you are living beyond your means. You are charging credit cards, you are charging for stuff you don't need or you cannot afford. So you want to be in a situation where you are able to afford anything you charge on a credit card. Okay, so that means you have to pay your full balance at the end of the month. So if you're able to do that, what will happen here is that you are able to have a Navy Fed internal score that is high. Remember that the score is between 100 and 450. Okay, and if you have a high Navy Fed internal score, you probably will have, because there's a strong correlation between your Navy Fed internal score and your FICO score. So the higher your Navy Fed internal score, probability is that your FICO score will also go up. So this is really important. So this will help you actually get the Navy Fed personal loan that you need. Okay. Now, if you're unemployed, as I said before, you're not going to get the 50K, but you probably get 30K or 20K. I mean, anything is good anyway, right? So the second thing I want you to pay attention to, and this is important, and this applies to anybody, whether you have a job, a 9-to-5 job, you're chilling right now, making a lot of money, or you're unemployed. You need to constantly be in a situation where you are maintaining a positive relationship with Navy Fed. We are speaking about Navy Fed NPR. We are talking about a banking relationship. Okay, uncle, yeah. Are you a Navy Fed member? You are, because you're listening to this show. But my question to you is, uncle, be real with me. I want you to be real with me. Don't you try to confuse me. Don't you try to give me an approximate answer. Don't you try to razzle-dazzle me. Do you have a strong relationship? Do you have a tight banking relationship with NFCU? This is important. You got to be in a situation where you have to do that. Okay. And so if you are unemployed right now, did you have direct deposit when you had employment, when you had a job? Did you have any kind of a direct deposit with Navy Fed? You should have. This is why I'm telling people who are working right now, if you are working right now, you never know what will happen one year from now, 10 years from now. You might be unemployed too. Things happen, been there, done that. But the thing is, right now, when things are going rosy for you, I want you to set up direct deposit with Navy Fed right now. Right now. I ain't talking about yesterday or tomorrow. I'm talking about right now. Okay. Do that for me. Do me this favor. Do this to yourself. Do this to your future self and to your current self. Okay. You want to have a checking account and a savings account. You want to have a money market account. We advise folks to have at least 2 accounts. At least 2 accounts. If you are trying to have a solid relationship with Navy Fed so that you can get the loan that you need to have at least 2 accounts. Savings and check-ins, minimum. And if you have extra cash to park, well, listen, you can open the money market account, okay? That's what Lizzie did, right? Lizzie, that's what you did, right? Oh, that's even better. Oh, that's pretty cool. We love that. So you open what? You open a savings account, a checking account, and what else? You open an IRA. Fantastic. Fantastic. Diversity is important, and you also have a CD. This is really good. This is really good. This is what we want folks to do. You want to be in a situation where you can actually have an IRA and individual retirement accounts. You can have a CD, a certificate of deposit. You can have an MMA, money market accounts. I mean, the larger the constellation of accounts you have with Citibank, with Navy Fed, the better. Okay. Let's talk about the requirements. Okay, so today's conversation revolves around a very simple premise. Okay, you are unemployed and you are trying to get a loan from Navy Fed. Okay, and you need to familiarize yourself with the requirements of the loan. This is important because the Navy Fed is not going to approve you if you have no idea about the requirements. Okay, this is why I always say go to a branch if you can, or call over the phone. A lot of folks just walk around. Well, you can just go to the website and you have all the requirements there. Hey, no. I said no. You know why? Because the website actually, Navy Fed changes their policies every single day or every quarter or every month. And sometimes there is a delay between the time a decision has been made in the underwriting department versus when that decision is published on the website. This is why we always say go to the source. Go to the source so you have a clear idea about the requirements in terms of your credit score and history, what kind of income they're looking at, because simply because you are unemployed doesn't mean that you don't have no income. You don't have any income. I mean, people actually are unemployed, but they make money from the side. You probably have a side gig, or you are doing something online. Okay, you probably have some savings here and there. I mean, yeah, you want to ask them also their requirements in terms of a debt to income ratio. That's one thing we talk about also. Okay, and you want to ask them if they want you to pledge collateral, because simply because you don't have a job doesn't mean that. In some cases they might actually be a little, I would say, a little hesitant to approve the loan. So if you are saying, listen, I'm willing to pledge this asset and this asset, then the underwriting process could be more interesting for you. But again, you have to ask. Okay, this thing doesn't happen now. Also ask them if there is an origination fee. Now, usually Navy Fed never applies an origination fee, but one thing we have seen is that in some states and under certain circumstances, they do. For instance, if they think that your credit profile is too risky, or if they think that they have to abide by some extra regulations in the state where you're applying from, then they might charge an origination fee to actually offset those additional costs. Okay, so this is really important. It is on a case-by-case basis. I still want to talk to you about you being unemployed right now and you're looking for a loan from Navy Fed, okay? And I want to tell you that you need to have the right loan documentation. Son, daughter, this is something I really think is important. I mean, our team has learned this in the last 30 years, because what really matters with Navy Fed is that they love procedures. Navy Fed loves procedures. They love paperwork. They love sources. They love evidence. Remember, they are a military institution, so they have that discipline already, that granularity discipline, that need for granularity, that need for details. Okay, so you need to have the right loan documentation. So I'm talking about the loan application itself. Okay, you got to have proof of identity. Okay, you got to make sure that you have your driver's license or any type of state issued ID. Okay, it could be also a passport, your military ID. Also, this is really good. And also think about your proof of address. Okay, so those are really important when we talk about loan docs. Do not underestimate this part, because your approval or denial will actually depend on the thoroughness. Okay, the level of care that you took to, for instance, fill out the loan application form. Okay, because if you have a loan application with let's say many mistakes, this actually devalues your profiles and you lose credibility. This is why I was just telling you earlier to always contact the credit union itself, Navy Fed. Go to a branch if you are blessed to live within the vicinity of a branch, okay? Or you call over the phone so that you have a clear idea of what's requested of you, what's required of you, what is expected from you, okay? So you make as few mistakes as possible, okay? And one thing I also want to say in terms of loan doc is if you are unemployed, it doesn't matter. The loan application doesn't change because you're unemployed. Like the funny thing is, I'm not saying here that they have a loan application for the employed, for those who have a regular job 9 to 5, and those who are unemployed. It is the same standard templates, okay? It's all about how you actually fill it. But please make sure, no matter what you do, please make sure to always tell the truth. Always tell the truth on a loan application, on a credit card application from a credit union or a bank or whatever, because this is a federal crime to actually lie on a loan application. Very important. Do not do that. I want to talk to you about your last jobs. This is really important because the question is, if you are unemployed, the question that Navy Fed is going to ask you directly is, how long have you been unemployed? That's number one. Number two, how do you sustain yourself? Number two, okay, can we verify your pay and employment for the last 3 employers? Those are 3 things. And remember, whether those occupations were full-time, part-time, temporary, or seasonal, doesn't matter. They are going to call those past 3 employers to make sure that you tell them the truth, okay? And it's important to understand that in terms of you proving your last jobs, they might need from you pay stubs, your tax returns, okay, your W-2s and the 1099s. Those are the standard, I would say the standard proofs, standard evidence of income and employment. They might ask you for bank statements. Remember that if you had direct deposit into a Navy Fed account when you were working, it's a lot easier to prove that you had a job, a decent job in the last say 3 or 4 years, okay? And remember that you need to think about constantly, how do you prove to Navy Fed that you now have the ability to repay whatever loan they actually grant you, okay? And when we talk about allowing them to verify your employment, your past employment, this is quite essential. If you say no, then you will not be approved, okay? Because this just means that you are lying. Because if you say, listen, I work at this place, let's say between January and April, whatever, I worked at that place, whatever, and you are not giving Navy Fed the ability to verify your sayings, then they will just disapprove. They'll just decline your loan. One thing I want to say here also is that you want to contact your past employers ahead of time, okay? You want to explain to them that they might be called or they might receive some kind of letter from Navy Fed asking them to confirm your employment, okay? Make sure that you contact your employers beforehand so that when Navy Fed sends the request for documentation, things move faster because you had already told your lender what it is about, okay? And they just have to fill in and put whatever information is accurate and hopefully better for you, okay? So this is it. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation here about your $50,000 Navy Fed personal loan. Okay, how do you get that if you're unemployed? And I want to speak to you now about cash flows. So you need to demonstrate how you will pay back the loan. I've said this throughout the show, but now in this section, I want to dig a little deeper. It's very important. So simply because you're unemployed doesn't mean you don't have income. You got to have income to get a credit card or loan anyway, right? So you need to list all of your sources of income. So you don't have a job, yes, but you probably working I don't know, you were tutoring children online, you are maybe working on Fiverr, or you are maintaining gigs on Fiverr, Upwork, TopTal, freelancer.com, okay? And so you got to start with all of your sources of income, and you also have to do your sources of expenses. In other words, your expenses. Okay, because this will help you actually determine your net cash flow. And this is important because your net cash flow is going to tell you your disposable income at the end of each month. Okay, and this is what's going to help you get the Navy Fed $50,000 personal loan, because at least they see that you have some extra cash that will help you pay the installment loan that you're asking for. Okay, and when we talk about having your cash flows, the thing is, if you want to determine your cash flows and see if you have positive cash flows or negative cash flows, you have two ways of doing this. Two ways. First, you can prepare a personal statement of cash flows, and second, you can actually determine your net cash flow. Okay, so when you have a statement of cash flows, then you're talking about three categories of cash flows. But if you have the one that I'm talking to you about, your cash flows, your net cash flow statement, it's only expenses. Actually, it's only revenue minus expenses. Okay, but it's really easy to think about, and you have to be in a situation where you constantly improve your net cash flow, because remember that there is a difference between a personal cash flow statement and a budget, because the personal cash flow statement provides what? A comprehensive look at what is currently coming in and going out of your bank accounts each month. A cash flow statement tells you where you are. A personal budget, on the other hand, helps you get to where you want to go by giving you a spending plan that is based on your income. Okay, so a budget can provide you with some general spending guidelines, such as how much you should spend on groceries, entertainment, and clothing each month, so that you don't exceed your income and end up with a negative net flow. Okay, so you have to be in a situation where you constantly improve your net cash flows. In other words, you want to live below your means, right? You want to constantly save money so that you are in a situation where you actually make more money than save. Actually, more money than spend. Okay, and you want to be in that situation. That's the sweet spot. I want to talk to you now about your FICO score, and that's the last part you want to pay attention to. Really, this is really important. You got to be in a situation where you are actually improving your FICO score all the time. And I don't care how you do it. Okay, I don't care, son. If you have any hack, whatever, you probably watched gazillions of videos already that tell you how to actually increase your FICO score, right? But the thing here is that you have to be in a situation where you verify that your accounts are current. Everything starts from there. People talk about this hack will give you 100 points, this hack will give you 200 points, but if you have no idea that your accounts are current, in other words, there are no derogatory items, how can you actually, because you can increase, you can increase your FICO score by 100 points, but what if you still had a bad item on your credit report? This will actually break down the FICO score at some point. Okay, so you want to verify that your account are current. You want to dispute your inaccuracies if you believe that there are some inaccuracies on the form. This is important. Okay, you want to ask for a little grace if possible. Sometimes a creditor may be willing to help you out, really. Okay, and trying to have a strategy where you set up collections, charge-offs, judgments, and liens. Okay, you want to settle those, and it's important to improve also your debt utilization ratio. We are speaking about your credit utilization ratio, your CUR. Okay, and those are important because in the long run, this will help you be in a situation where you are constantly controlling what really matters, and that's what you want to do. Okay, and your FICO score is also important, not just for Navy Fed. As I said earlier, there is a strong correlation between your FICO score and your Navy Fed internal score. Okay, so the higher your FICO, the higher your Navy Fed internal score could potentially go by. Okay, and one thing I also want to say here is that your FICO score is important because it is a It is a picture in time about your financial responsibility. Whether you are doing good or bad, it really depends on you, right? Because it is. But the bottom line for me here is that if you're trying to get the Navy Fed personal loan and you are unemployed, but at least you have a high FICO score, this could actually dramatically increase your chances of applying for this Navy Fed personal loan. Okay, because they look at your ability, they look at how much you are, like, let's say you don't have income, or at least that much of income, but you're able to live a normal life, you're able to pay your bills. That shows the financial responsibility that's way above those who actually have been sleeping and waking up around 12 anyway, because it's Saturday or it's Sunday, whatever. Okay, so you got to be in a situation to do that. You got to be in a situation where you increase your FICO score consistently and continually. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was talking to you about how to get a Navy Fed personal loan, maximum amount $50,000 if you are unemployed. So I spoke to you about DTI and Cur, your NFCU MPR, the requirements, the loan docs, your last jobs, the cash flows, and your FICO score. Thank you so much for your attention. God bless you, and I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.